Your full slate of insiders, Chris Johnston, Pierre Lebrun, and Darren Dreger. We knew this would happen, that there'd be at least a couple of players, key players, who would be injured leading up to Four Nations. And CJ, it's going to present some really interesting decisions for the players and their teams.
Yeah, and let's start with Quinn Hughes on that one, because the Canucks captain has been known to be gutting through an injury here the last few weeks. He missed a game on Sunday for the Vancouver Canucks, and then on Tuesday morning, skated again, but unable to play that night in that game. And that's forced Team USA at this point to at least prepare for the possibility that Quinn Hughes won't be with them at the Four Nations face-off. Of course, the hope is still that he can get there. But with this injury and this timing, there is some concern whether or not he'll be able to go. As for Mitch Marner, the Toronto Maple Leafs, he has not skated since Saturday, suffered what's considered a minor injury in that game against Edmonton. At this point, it sounds like he will be available for Canada, but Hockey Canada will be monitoring his situation closely as well.
All right, trade talk. The Flames go out and get Morgan Frost and Joel Farabee, but Pierre, still interested in some other young players?
Yeah, namely a guy by the name of Dylan Cozens. Now, we should say that they're not alone. I mean, about 2/3 of the league has checked in with the Buffalo Sabres on Dylan Cozens, and why not? And given that he's still a Buffalo Sabre, it tells you that nothing has moved the needle. But Calgary really likes the right shot Cozens and has remained in contact with Buffalo on him. And the point is that it would be a hockey deal if they were ever able to go next level in these conversations. The Flames, despite being in a playoff race, don't want to trade for Reynolds. They want to give up assets for a short-term deal. The long-term view still has to trump all for the Calgary Flames. And if there was something there with Dylan Cozens, that would make sense for Calgary.
A lot going on with the Buffalo Sabres, and some of it not so good, including an injury to Sabres star Tage Thompson, who's listed day-to-day after getting absolutely clobbered on the weekend by Stefan Nason of the New Jersey Devils. Now, to literally add insult to injury, it was a lack of response from his teammates, which earned a meeting on Monday to discuss what went on. Why was no one there to defend that action on the ice? And you know, the message was pretty simple from all involved with that meeting. This happens again and there is no response, then there will be internal consequences. But Alex Tuch, Dylan Cozens, and others have said it won't happen again.
Vancouver Canucks did some major lineup reshaping with those two back-to-back deals last week, and not quite finished on that, Pierre?
Yeah, this is in the category of easier said than done, but the moment they lose JT Miller, they want to try and go out and replace him, right? And listen, obviously they got a very good young player in Philip Cheadle, but the priority for Vancouver Canucks is to go find help at center. Whether that happens before March 7th, that'd be a great bonus because they're still in a playoff race, but the reality is, bigger picture, they're going to try and get that done between now and puck drop next fall. And yes, Dylan Cozens, by the way, we just talked about him in 3 consecutive notes here. He is among the type of players that Vancouver is interested in. We know they've had discussions with Buffalo. That had to do more with Elias Pettersson, and we know the Canucks have taken Pettersson off the market for now. They want to see how he responds after the JT Miller trade. So let's see if Vancouver can pick that up in a different form when it comes to Buffalo.
A lot of soon-to-be free agents and a lot of agents, period, pretty excited about the vastly expanding salary cap over the next few years, CJ. Have you looked at it enough to figure out who exactly or what category of player will benefit most from this?
Well, I've certainly sampled some opinions out there. And, you know, a flavor of those discussions and those text exchanges would be that, yes, the superstars, of course, will benefit from this. Mikko Rantanen, Mitch Marner. But the feeling is that they were going to be paid anyway as pending UFAs coming into this summer, and that maybe some of the next tier of players below them, you know, top 6 forwards, top 4 Ds, but not the absolute superstars, might be the ones that benefit the most. And so if we look at the UFA board for this year, that's guys like Nikolai Ehlers, a pending UFA for Winnipeg, maybe Brock Besser out of Vancouver, Brock Nelson, you know, players of that ilk. The feeling is that those guys are probably going to get to be maybe, instead of an $8 million player, pushed towards $9 million in this brave new world. And so the agents, of course, are lining up and licking their chops here with the possibility of getting better deals.
And finally, the IIHF has decided not to reinstate Russia for the next 2 years in World Championship events, despite the pleas of one former NHL Russian star, Dregs.
Yeah, Pavel Bure, who is a council member on behalf of Russia, and he spoke passionately. in hopes of getting Russia and Belarus reinstated into international play, but that wasn't the case. The IIHF citing safety concerns at international events. Now, as a follow-up, Pavel Bure issued a statement through the Russian Ice Hockey Federation just saying that any safety issues could be looked after with additional security. And Bure went as far as to say, look, looking at the Olympics in 2026 in Italy, that's an IOC decision and not a IIHF call.
And will be a fascinating one. Of course, the IOC has let Russian athletes compete, though not under their flag, despite sanctions in the past.